What is up, ESPN Houston? My name is Nick Stevenson. I am the self-appointed president of Houston Sports Nation, and I am the creator, host, and producer of the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast. Now, I don't call myself the president because I believe I'm better than the fans. I'm one of you, and I want to represent you. So every week, I do a Houston Sports State of the Union address, and I'd like to give you a brief version of what that would look like right now, starting with the state of the Houston Texans. So training camp has begun. Houston fans, we have every reason to be excited about this team, and I don't want to take that away from you. However, I do know that having a team that has a national narrative about being Super Bowl contenders is something that we crave, it's something that we really want, but I need you to understand that the national media doesn't really pay attention to this team. So the same attitude you take towards them when they're saying negative things about them, I want you to pump the brakes a little bit about them being Super Bowl contenders. We don't need to plan the parade in February just yet. Now, can the Texans win the Super Bowl? I believe that they can. However, there's a lot of things that we cannot ignore about last season. Number one, it's been stated already, easiest schedule in football, or one of the easiest schedules. This year, they will have the fourth hardest schedule, the hardest schedule outside of any of the AFC North teams. Also, our division has improved, at least on paper. So going through the AFC South is no longer going to be a quote unquote cakewalk. After that, you factor in those two things, you take CJ Stroud, who had a great rookie season, but it would not be surprising if he were to take a step back, and maybe not a step back as far as his development, but as far as his production. What I think is that we could totally see a scenario where the Houston Texans are an improved football team, but record-wise, maybe the record has not improved as much as we thought it would improve. Now, once again, I'm not trying to be negative. Be optimistic. Talk trash to your friends. I know you probably have friends and family who are Cowboys fans. Come Thanksgiving, talk all the trash in the world. Be excited about this team. All I'm saying is if they don't go 17-0, don't press the panic button. If they end up finishing 10-7 again, but improved, that's not a negative thing. But I don't want you going to try to fire the GM and the coach after the first 4 games. Let's just calm down, let them have the natural maturation, and enjoy having a good football team playing meaningful football games. I would say the state of the Houston Texans is very strong. Let's move on to the state of the Houston Rockets. Once again, another young team in Houston with a lot of optimism surrounding it, and be excited about the Houston Rockets. I will tell you, very similar to the Houston Texans, the Western Conference is going to be a beast. We could see an improved Houston Rockets team with not much of an improved record. Winning 41 games last season, there are many seasons that would have gotten you in the play-in. It did not this season. As a matter of fact, the Houston Rockets have the most wins for a team to not make a play-in since the play-in was incepted. Now, I want to talk about Reed Shepherd really quick, because a lot of people are ready to give him the Rookie of the Year award. And all I want to say is, once again, I'm not being negative, but let's pump the brakes on that. Do you know how many Summer League MVPs have never seen the light of day in the NBA? Nobody's really hyped over the fact that Orlando Robinson right now is averaging 10-10 on 62% shooting. Nobody's saying that he's going to replace Alperen Şengün because Summer League is Summer League. Now, if you look bad in Summer League, I would understand why that's a problem, but I'm glad that Reed Shepherd has played well. I expect him to at least be competitive for minutes on this team. If I had to give a comparison of anyone, I've seen a lot of Mark Price. I think they're doing that because he's a white guy. He reminds me, I'm not saying he's going to be this guy, but the way he navigates the pick and roll, the way he hunts for his spots, he reminds me of a older Chris Paul, maybe like Chris Paul when he was with the Rockets, which would be very valuable on this team, especially if he can consistently knock down mid-range and 3-pointers. The Rockets would take that in a heartbeat. Once again, don't quote me as saying he's going to be Chris Paul. I think he can be that type of player that controls the floor, orchestrates, and settles things down when they get very hectic. State of the Houston Rockets is extremely strong. Let's move on to the state of the Houston Astros. Okay. The Houston Astros have taken first place in the AL West. If you told me 2 months ago that was going to happen, I'd have told you were crazy. I'm going to be the first one to admit that I was wrong. I thought the Astros should be sellers. I thought they should get rid of Bregman and anyone else they thought they were not bringing back to this team. However, Dana Brown is in a situation where he's got to worry about right now. He's not worried about 5 years from now. He may not be here in 5 years. So I think this is the test for him, though. What can you do? Because we already know that the farm system has some decent prospects, but there's other teams who have better. Does he have that move in him that pushes the Astros over the top? Does he have a Justin Verlander move? Does he have a Zach Greinke move? Does he have something that's going to definitively say the Astros will be competitive enough to not only win the division, but can they be competitive in the playoffs, get back to the ALCS, and my goodness, maybe get back to the World Series? That is yet to be seen. I can't wait to see what he does, but I would say, given the last several weeks, the state of the Houston Astros is very strong. So that is just a glimpse of what a Houston sports State of the Union address would look like. I thank you guys so much for this opportunity. Thank you for giving a nod to the local Houston podcasters. I hope to hear from you again. In the meantime, stay 10 toes down for H-Town.